Seventh Day
Dude, I'm
Slumber
going to tilt the camera back down, Matt.
Yeah, that's
in the house.
Joseph's got to see that.
Yo, what's up, guys?
What's up?
Hey. We got
Everybody doing good?
Yeah, man. How are y'all doing
good
tonight?
Doing good, man.
So I'll start this off by saying I am super jealous that I am not you guys because I'm a huge Fozzy Chris Jericho fan.
I'm going to that show.
Shut up. So,
Baltimore.
long story short, back in the day when Fozzy went on a European tour, there used to be a band called Uncrowned out of Atlanta. Their bass player was the tour bass player when they went to Europe one time. And I texted him like, can you get me something for Chris Jericho? He's like, Kevin, I can't even believe you fucking asked me that. He's like, I'm not asking Chris Jericho for an autograph. I'm like, just have him sign something and throw it back. He's like, no, I'm not doing it.
Dude, I've had so many people ask me, hey, dude, I mean, I know you're going to see him back there, man. Just get him to sign something, get him to, like,
no.
I got people close to me asking that, and I'm like, dude, I don't care how close we are. I'm not going to embarrass myself like that, dude. I'm just thinking. It's funny though, man, because I didn't know how big Chris Jericho was, because I'm not and that's no disrespect at all.
No, absolutely.
I just didn't watch a lot of wrestling back in the early days. I did, but I that was old school wrestling, man.
Hogan, Andre the Giant.
That stuff.
They like to call Chris Jericho the Ocho.
Oh, yeah.
8-time champion.
Yeah. No, I know. Dude, I know now. Like, if you don't know, now you know. They say you better learn. And so, dude, I was like, man, I just knew Fozzy because they get played. You see their videos and get played. And some friends of mine that shot videos for them and done work with them, photography and things like that. And plus, I really like the song Judas a lot, and so
yes.
I like a lot of Fozzy songs, but I love that song. And so anyway, I didn't realize exactly how big Chris Jericho was until we got on this tour, and I was like, man. Well, actually, a band called the GFM Band, which is on Rockfest Records as well as us, they were on tour.
Trust me, we are big GFM fans here.
Yeah,
awesome. Yeah, well, they were on that tour, and that's when Blaze and Weston were produced their last album, their last EP, the GFM Band's last EP, Framing My Perception. So Blaze was actually on that tour. This is Blaze right here. And Blaze plays drums, Weston plays guitar for Seventh Day Slumber. But he was actually on that tour, and he was like, he's huge, man. He's not just big in a band, Fozzy. He's huge, dude. Like, huge.
Yeah,
so
he is literally worldwide. He does his own damn cruise.
Yeah.
He does a Chris Jericho wrestling cruise, and Fozzy plays on it, and they have all the big wrestlers there during the cruise. Just kind of a wrestling version of Shiprocked. If for everybody who's familiar with Shiprocked, it's a wrestling version of that. And I'm a huge wrestling fan. So if you've ever seen AEW with Chris Jericho, and I'm going to get off the Chris Jericho band here at Wagon here in just a second. But if you ever watch them, they play Judas as his walkout music. Yep. The crowd goes absolute. They turn the music off.
And the crowd.
Thousands of people just singing Judas. And it's just amazing. But the whole point is you guys are going out on tour with them. And you've gone out with them last year as well, correct?
We were on that tour last year, and Chris Jericho ended up hurting his larynx. Yes. And so it got moved to now, and we ended up going out with Saliva instead, which that was a solid run. We had a great time with those dudes in Saliva, and we saw Lisa there, and we had a great time on that. But so it got moved to this year, and we leave in about 4 weeks, maybe.
Yeah, almost a month to the day.
Yeah, almost a month to the day.
What's funny is originally they asked us to push the date of Rockin' the Sound back 1 week so Fozzy could be the headliner for Rockin' the Sound.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I was going to say that was our first target.
Yeah, I mean, Fozzy was one of the first ones we went after. We thought we were going to get him, and then Chris's schedule didn't match up. So he asked us to push it back a week, but we had already had the venue and we'd already laid down the deposit on the venue. So we had to stick with the date we had. So we missed out on that one. So tell me, for those that don't know, give us a little rundown of Seventh Day Slumber from the beginnings to where you're at now.
So Seventh Day Slumber has actually been around over 20 years. And my son, this is my son, Blaise. He's actually the drummer for this band. Our drummer was his drum teacher. And Weston's from my hometown of Victoria. But we've been around a while, and a lot of people know us kind of like in the Christian rock industry.
That's where I knew the name from.
Yeah. And, we've had a couple of crossover songs, that did well on rock radio. And we were with Warner Brothers and Word Entertainment and Warner Brothers at the same time. So we had the Christian and the general market side of it. And that was years ago. And then we focused a lot, just doing a lot of family friendly venues, kind of, I guess, and I think a lot of it had to do with the fact that, because a lot of Christian bands play bars, clubs, and that kind of stuff. But for me, dude, I was a drug addict, man. I grew up without a dad. I was looking at 10 years in federal prison my last time down. This is before I had my kids. So for me, when everything changed, and I had an encounter with God. I'm not getting preachy on your show. I'm just telling you what it is.
Keep going. Yeah.
For me, I had an encounter with God, man. And in the back of an ambulance after a suicide attempt, my mom was the one that walked in and found me, called the paramedics. And I really believe God used those paramedics. Shout out to all of our, all the paramedics out there and firefighters and all the first responders, man. But God used them to save my life in the back of an ambulance. And so for me, that was the beginning of that change. And I at that time, I had a $400 a day cocaine addiction. I was looking at 10 years that time down. I'd been locked up from Texas to California. No hope, dude. I didn't even want to live. I didn't care anymore. But that began this change. And so fast forward to things started, changing in my life. I started going to church. I started getting around people that not the super judgy kind, but people that just took me as I am, dude. And even when I relapsed again, or even when I'd mess up, they didn't judge me and be like, you're not really a Christian or whatever. They just know that life hurts sometimes, man. And it doesn't matter, if you believe in God or not, life hurts, man, sometimes. So anyway, but this big change happened to me, and it was Jesus for me, and so anyway, but then I met my wife, Lori. We just celebrated 23 years of marriage. But I met my wife, Lori, this amazing woman. We had 3 kids. And so Seventh Day Slumber was formed. And I grew up, I listened to like Rage and Metallica and Stone Temple Pilots, Soundgarden. Like those were my bands, man, all those bands. And so I still love that edge and that, I guess, you could say angst, man. I loved it. And it was a way for me to get stuff out. But at the same time, after I started having kids, early on in Seventh Day Slumber, we were playing clubs, we were playing bars, we were, out there and putting on a solid show, but also being around for anybody that needed to talk. And then there were a lot of like cool Christian people that said, hey, dude, we could do something in the park, or we could rent out the Civic Center, or so we started doing a lot of family friendly venues as well as churches, and then we had a lot of offers to play like clubs and stuff. But for me, with having my kids, I wanted to be there for them because I didn't have a dad growing up. So my kids toured with me, and I didn't want them in the clubs and I didn't want them in the bars while I was playing and that kind of stuff. So that's what happened. Now my kids are older, Blaze is 21. I've got a 16-year-old and an 18-year-old. And another thing, and I'll wrap this part of it, but another thing is that I don't feel, and somebody said, man, you guys have kind of left the church. Y'all over the past year and a half, y'all been doing all this, or the past year, y'all been doing all this like general market stuff and whatever. And I'll say this, man, and I'm gonna be honest, we didn't leave the church, man. I feel like the church left us. Dude, it used to be where they were reaching out to the people that were struggling, that were hurting. They were giving, they were giving a helping hand, and it seemed like that kind of changed. And so for us now, my kids are old enough, I'll just go where people need it. I mean, our suicide rate is through the roof. We've got so much going on, man. So once again, I'm not trying to get preachy. I feel like our music speaks for itself. I feel like and I'm not being cocky or any stuff. I feel like the band makes good music, and it's not just good for a Christian band. We got a lot of fans that don't even believe in God. So now we're at a place where this new music, writing with my son and writing with Weston, is just a game changer, from our Death by Admiration album to this new Surviving the Wasteland. And then we have a new album coming out this year called Feasting on Vultures.
Nice.
I like it. Yeah, the Death by Admiration was the first, those songs were the first ones that started kind of getting in my ear. And Kevin and I were talking. I didn't know the whole Christian backstory. So I went on YouTube, watched a bunch of the shows that y'all had played. I guess like kind of looked like maybe they were, I don't know if they were in a church or part of some type of retreat, but you could definitely tell there was a Christian, vibe there, which I thought was great. It was cool. What I liked about the Death by Admiration songs is you can hear the message in the lyrics when you look into it, or you pay attention, but you could take it a different way as well. Like there's a lot of interpretation, which to me is important in music. Sometimes if it's too straightforward, no matter what the topic, it just loses a little bit of the luster for me. That's just me personally.
Yeah.
But the song Halos, man, y'all, that is one of my, that song hit home at the right time in my life, or you could say the wrong time. Having just lost a family member a few months back, and then the video, the concept of the video with I guess we're like kind of like, was it goodbye notes or what I would have said notes or what I wanted to say to you notes? That one, y'all did a good job there, is all I can say.
Man, I appreciate that. Weston, actually, our guitar player, Weston, he came to me and Blaze, and we needed one more song to finish up the Death by Admiration album, and we wanted it to be something meaningful, but we were like racking our brain, and anyway, he said, dude, something's been weighing on me that I haven't told y'all, and he said, man, and I wrote some music. I didn't write any lyrics or anything, but I wrote some music that fits the vibe of my emotion. And he said, dude, Joe Verdine, who's this guy, huge fan of our band for years, loves our band. He's a biker dude, man, just loves our band. But anyway, he's always at all the shows in Louisiana, man, and his, the crew is. But anyway, he ended up passing away suddenly. But anyway, he just a few days before he passed away, he wrote Weston and said, hey, man, could you write me back? Need to talk. And Weston said, man, I put it off. And just like a day or two later, he died. And dude, I've lived with that. And yeah, I mean, anything you want to add to that, Weston?
No, it's just he sent me a message over Christmas, and he's like, hey man, how you doing? Want to get back with you, whatever. And like, I was just like, oh, that's Joe. I'll talk to him later. It's just, I got time, and then wasn't too much longer after that. Then I saw, I woke up to Facebook and people messaging me, and he had passed, and it was just, that's a weight I've never carried before, and that was earlier in the year. And, I never told anybody about that. We didn't write Halos until like October, you know what I mean? Or something like that. So I think we were, as Joe mentioned, we were finishing up the album, and I was like, talking about things you want to write about. And I was like, well, this is something I've been struggling with. And, then I guess let's move forward from there.
Yeah. I had and I was like, man, It's crazy because I just had a friend who my wife and I have known her for years. We've helped her. She's a friend who's struggled a lot, you know, but when she was 12 years old, she came to one of our concerts. She was cutting every day, and she was talking about suicide every day. And you know, and I'm like, man, she's 12, like my kid's age at the time or whatever. But anyway, she had like, she ended up coming to our concert, and she changed her life. Like she came and she's like, I want to know the God that you're talking about. And she ended up becoming a Christian, and she started this big, huge ministry, and people were tattooing tattooing her ministry on their arms and everywhere, man. And she started this huge ministry. I would talk to her all the time. Anyway, she ended up falling back into some drugs and back into a dark time. And I was talking with her about it, and my wife and I, doing what we could to help. But anyway, she called me one night and she told me she was going to take her life. And I was like, no, you got to stay strong. And I spent like an hour or two on the phone, my wife and I, and she hung up on me. And so I ended up, you know, I'm from the streets, so I did something I never do, and I called the cops. You know what I mean? And so I called the cops to go do a welfare check, you know, and she was super, super mad at me, dude. She called, cussed me out, like said things that hurt me emotionally, man. You know, when somebody like us, I don't even know.
Deep.
Oh,
Yeah,
your music sucks. Like what? Oh my God. No, but no, so she but cussed me out, said all kinds of crazy stuff. And then a few days later or not too long after that, she texts and she's like, hey, I need to talk. And I said, dude, I'm not doing this. I told my wife, I'm not doing this, man. I've done it for years. Well, she took her life. And I still have the message on my phone. Says, could you please text me? So I know this is real heavy right now for the listeners. And I want you to know that when you come to a Seventh Day Slumber concert, it's not just going to be all about suicide and death and all of that, or even preachy, like on the you know, like I said, we just got off tour with Saliva. We're not going to be doing altar calls on the stage. You know, we're just around. Well, at least you were there. Like, I'll share a little bit, and then we're just hanging out if anybody needs to talk. I believe that's how you speak into people's lives, is sometimes not saying a word, just being there for them. Right. But anyway, so that's the deal, man. We decided to write that song, and then we opened it up, as you said, the video. We decided, you know what would be cool? There are a lot of people that are struggling with guilt, like they wish they could have made the call, should have spent more time, all the shoulda, woulda, couldas that we were dealing with. And we're like, dude, what if we just made this video less about us doing a performance piece and made it about those people to get some kind of relief, man, some kind of healing. And so we had them send us a picture of their loved ones, and if they had just a moment left, what would they say to them? And that's what Halo's video is. It's the picture of their loved ones and what they would have said. And man, there are it's hard for me to watch that. We had to make an extended version of it that we just put up, but because there were so many that came in.
Yeah, that's just a great concept, a great way to like tie in the meaning to the meaning of the song to the video, because a lot of videos, you know, you can fall into this, like they get, well, okay, we've seen that, we've seen this, we've seen that. That was, to me, a really refreshing idea. And I enjoyed the hell out of it. So I wanted to say to Denny, thanks for sharing that, man. We hate to hear that you lost your wife and then y'all's only son. That's tragic, man. Life can get real quick. I've said that before.
It's like Joseph was saying, it's heavy, but this needs to be spoken about, man. One thing I love about Joseph is he's open, he's real, he's honest. His music is open, it's real, it's honest. And subjects that they touch on, like the mental health, the suicide and stuff like that. Like, I feel in this particular genre, everyone's been rejected by society in one way or another.
Right.
So we need to talk about it.
Right. Yeah. And let me also just say that when you go to a Seventh Day Slumber show, it is not an altar call. It is a huge screens and videos and lyrics, you know, so you can sing along, and it's about positivity.
The merch says it all.
And joy. Yeah, they've got great merch. It's a really good time. They put on a great performance. Joseph has a beautiful voice. And speaking of that voice, you just released a new single.
Yeah.
about a week or so ago called Surviving the Wasteland. Can you tell us about it?
Yeah, Surviving the Wasteland. Blaze, Weston, and Kellen McGregor from Memphis Mayfire, the guitar player from Memphis Mayfire, and I all wrote that song. But they came up with the music and then brought it to me, and I was like, man, I don't know what to do with this exactly, because it was just it was kind of confusing to me because it has some intricate parts, and dude, but I loved it. And so then we got into the studio with Kellen McGregor, and he started chopping some stuff up, playing some stuff, doing some things, and we had this cool song. And then we started working on melodies and stuff, but we needed to have an idea of what it was going to be about. And so we just kind of our country, the way it looks right now, just seems like we've been touring nonstop. And so we're in all the major cities and the rural communities. And it's like, man, there's so much. It looks like a wasteland, man. That's all I can say. You got people strung out, man. You got people, fentanyl deaths are through the roof. If I hear one more parent come to me and say, my son or daughter loved your band, but unfortunately they lost their battle to, with drugs or accidental, took a pill one time and they're not here no more. Like, dude, just so many of those stories. And so it's tough because you don't want to just write about death all the time, or we don't just write about death. We always put some kind of like hope at the, in there somewhere, just to let people know you don't have to live life like that. A lot of people are living life like that, but you don't have to, man. I mean, I'm living proof of that. I went from having a $400 a day cocaine addiction, in and out of jails, institutions, looking at prison, to no dad, raised by a single mom in the hood, dude, no money, nothing, to now being married to a beautiful, amazing woman who's my best friend in the world, 23 years, to having 3 sons that look up to their dad, and one plays in a band and now is writing the actual good songs of Seventh Day Slumber. Got 20 years, and then now we got some good songs, because these dudes are writing it. But it's not just, I wasn't just the lucky one that God picked. Like, dude, there's hope for all of us, man. So, but it's important that we write about those things and we talk about those things. And you run the risk of them, oh man, they're always just, it sounds so depressing, because they're talking about death or whatever. But dude, it has to be talked about. And so Surviving the Wasteland, that's what it's about. It's about kind of our fentanyl crisis and kind of the zombie land that we have right now. We got to reach out to our young people, but it's not just young people that are struggling, man.
Yeah.
No. I've got a question for Joseph, touching on what you just spoke about. So we've just heard about you going through your struggles when you were younger, and obviously, federal prisons and stuff and the drugs. What's it like for you, not only being able to share what you love with your son, but being able to write and perform with him on stage?
Man, I've tried to put it into words, dude. I can't. It's a trip, dude. That's all when I look back and I see him behind me and he's got his red hair shaking, not his natural hair color, by the way. What I mean? And he's like shaking, dude, and like rocking out, and he's on beat and like is a way better musician than I'll ever be and was ever. It's I'm thinking, not only do I get this opportunity to play with my son, but he's better than me. And I don't just mean as a musician. I mean, my kids are better than me, and that's what I want. I mean, I want to be the best I can for them as a dad, but man, to see that my kids respect me, they looked up to me and they look up to their mom, but they're better than me. That's what I want. That's what I'm trying to break, that mold, of my life and where I was at. But it's a trip, man. I don't know if you feel the same way.
Yeah, and they're nice kids too.
Right.
They're really nice kids. You meet them, they're super nice kids.
Blaze, how you feel about getting to play with me, man? It's your superstar dad, the most handsome guy around.
Very good, true descriptors. It's really awesome. It's kind of like what he said. You grow up and you see your dad playing on stage your whole life, because me and my two brothers grew up on a tour bus, and so you see your dad playing on stage every night and singing these songs and talking to people after the shows, and people asking him to pray for them or just be there to listen to things that they're going through. And now I'm kind of stepping into the role where I'm also doing that with him. I'm at the merch table with him after playing a concert, and there's people coming up and talking to us, asking him for prayer and saying, hey, can you listen to this or give me advice on this? And while he's talking to somebody, someone comes up and talks to me, and it's just crazy. It's really cool seeing it and growing up around it and then becoming a part of it. It's crazy. It's really awesome.
I love it.
Yeah.
It's wild, man. We've done a lot of events. Like I said, a lot of your viewers and listeners and stuff, like they're hearing Seventh Day Slumber going, man, this is pretty cool, this band or whatever. But we have been around for a long time. And, when he says he grew up in tour buses, in the Christian market, on the Christian rock side of it, Seventh Day Slumber, is a well-known band. But when you go here onto this side of it, now we're starting to get known, obviously. And like you said, a lot of people know our name, but they just see us as like, oh, that's a Christian rock band, because, it's what we've primarily done. But I would encourage the viewers right now, even if you're not a Christian, if you're like, dude, I don't want nothing to do with that, dude, that's cool. I would just encourage you to check out our music. Like I want the opportunity to earn a friendship with you, man. Or, if you don't like it, cool, I get it, dude, and that's fine. But I just want the opportunity to earn a friendship and earn a, new SD
music junkie. Yeah.
It's not Bible thumping music. It's not. It's completely rock. It's completely relatable. It doesn't matter if you're a Christian, if you're a Jew, if you're an atheist. I don't care what you are. It's completely relatable. It's definitely not a come to Jesus type of vibe. I mean, it is if it can be for you, but that's not what it sounds like if you're in a non-secular environment, in a secular environment. So go see Seventh Day Slumber. Their tour with Fozzy starts on March 23rd.
Right.
You're going everywhere.
So, I want to dig into another side real quick. So Jared might be familiar with the band Relent.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Magdalene Rose or GFM.
Yeah.
They are on Rockfest Records as well as other artists. Tell us about Rockfest Records.
Yeah.
Because you are Rockfest Records.
Well, yeah, I mean, I started Rockfest Records. My partner Jenna and my wife, she's our business partner, but she's a really good friend, and we had this vision of having this label that was giving bands an opportunity that maybe other labels weren't. And it started because Seventh Day Slumber's been with EMI Capital for years. And we were actually with Tooth and Nail, which was owned by EMI. And then we were with Tooth and Nail for 12 years. And then EMI bought us out of that contract. And then EMI got bought by Capital, and Capital was bought by Universal. So now we're with Universal Capital, but we finished our last record, and I've spent years not owning my own masters. Right. And so that's a common problem. There's probably bands watching right now, and they, it's just a common thing. And it's not necessarily a problem if, I will say being on a label did a lot for us. I know that bands hate to hear that right now, but being on a label, I gave us a lot of opportunities, and there's ups and downs. But we finished our last record. We were getting ready to move on, and Capital said, well, hold on. We still want to do something with you. And I said, well, listen, I love the staff. I just want to do things on my own. And so they gave me a distribution deal. They didn't just hand it to me. I mean, there's a lot to it. But we started Rockfest Records, distributed by Universal Capital. And and so I signed Relent. I signed GFM, which now they're disbanded. But Maggie, the lead singer of the band, has got her a new project, which you guys, I can't wait for you to hear it. It's hardcore. It's being mixed and mastered by Jeff Dunn, Motionless in White, Wage War, all that. But anyway, yeah, The Protest is on our label, The Letter Black, and a new band that we just released, which is doing really, really well right now, called World Gone Cold. Which is,
I was going to say, tell the story of that one.
Yeah, so that's members of. Well, you have Trey from POD. You have Mark Anthony from The Letter Black. You have Rylan from Attack Attack and Inhale Exhale. Yogi from Demon Hunter, and then Andrew from Disciple, and they got together. Mark Anthony started, the dude from Letter Black started talking with Yogi from Demon Hunter, and they were like, man, we've got some music, and Mark Anthony had been writing some music, and he let Yogi hear it. Then he let Rylan hear it, and Rylan was like, dude, we should do something with this. So they all got together, and they reached out to Andrew, and it was quick how it happened. And they started writing music together, and then they reached out to me because The Letter Black is on my record label. And so they reached out to me and said, hey, listen, we've got this band no one knows about because we haven't done anything, but it's only been like 4 months old and we're starting to write. Would you be willing to hear some of the music? And their manager reached out to me and said, well, I'd love to work with Rockfest. We love what you did with The Letter Black. And hey, what's up, Tim Hudson? But anyway, and so so we signed we signed World Gone Cold, and they went in the studio, finished up their record. We also worked with Jeff Dunn. He mixed it and mastered it, and we've put it out, and it's crazy. Their first show, we actually get to play their first show with them, at this throwdown at the campground.
Yep.
And they'll be playing there, and that'll be the release date of their album for their World Gone Cold release. So, yeah, it's wild, man. We have
That's crazy. That's crazy.
You got your hands full.
Yeah.
Yeah. Magdalene Rose is actually here. She's recording. We just finished recording her single. She was on tour with us for just a small 2-week run, and then she'll be out with us again right after the Fozzy tour. We're heading out to the West Coast on our Surviving the Wasteland tour. But she's actually here in the next room recording with these guys. Are recording her, producing her new album. So
that's awesome.
I'm gonna hit you up because I want to get they've been on the show. We did a show with them where they were the headliners of it. I'd love to get her back on the show to talk about the solo stuff and all that kind of stuff.
Done and done, brother.
I'll hit you up on it. I think that's all I had. Oh no, I don't. Wait. I can't give the full details because we're not announcing full details until Rocking the Sound. But put July 22nd on your calendar.
Yes.
We'll let you know that Seventh Day Slumber will be a part of whatever's happening July 22nd.
There you go.
In Ocean Springs.
Ocean Springs.
Oh,
Great.
that's close. You get close enough.
Gotta catch
Close
another
enough.
flight.
I want to shout out to all of your viewers and listeners, man. Like, I appreciate you guys being here and all the support you give to the sound. The Sapound is the new name now.
There
We
you go.
just changed it.
You heard it here first. The Sapound.
We just got to throw a P in there. We're good.
Because they're pounding the sound, dude. No, but to all of the viewers and listeners that show love and support to the sound, man, the sound is giving opportunities to bands that a lot of people don't give these bands. And even with Seventh Day Slumber, we've been around for a long time, but in that Christian side of it. And so to have an opportunity like this, and you guys have been supporting us before this, but I just appreciate all the listeners and the viewers and what it means, to support the sound and to continue to keep helping them to do what they do, because it helps us.
Gotta give the people the new rock, the really, really great new rock, and you are definitely part of that equation.
Right.
So we are just so pleased to have you on the show, and I can't wait to see you in Baltimore.
Let's do it.
You are more than welcome back on the show anytime you want. If you want something you want to promote, I mean,
Let us know.
Yeah.
I mean, if you've got new merch and you just want to talk about new merch, you can come on the show and talk about new merch.
I got some cool stuff that I definitely want to do. Lisa, I think that Lori sent you a song. It has not been released yet, and it's the title track to our new record that's coming out, Feasting on Vultures. It's just demo though. It's a demo, it's something that I want to. We can, since it's not in the Capitol like portal.
Okay.
Yeah, it won't shut down your live feed. So we could maybe come back on here, and I would love to let the listeners, because now it won't shut down your feed until we upload it to the Capitol portal. But I would love for them to hear some of our new stuff and maybe even help them pick a few songs that would make the record. That could be a cool thing.
Done.
Yeah. Yeah. Done.
That's done.
Like I said, you just got to tell me when to show up.
I'll have our tour manager reach out, and she's also my manager and my wife and my mom. So
I'm gonna tell you what, Lori's been a pleasure to deal with.
Yeah,
she makes everything so much easier.
She does, man. And but I'll have Lori work it out. But I think that'd be really cool, and I'd love to do it on the sound with you guys. You guys are amazing.
Done deal.
Done.
We'll sort dates.
Yeah.
We will definitely do that. Oh, somebody says surviving the wasteland is what I was banging on the ride home.
That's right. Darn right, Tim. Tell him.
Tim Hudson, he's a diehard.
He's a diehard. Yeah, diehard SDS fan.
Tim, my dude.
Yeah.
Guys, tell us how we can find Seventh Day Slumber.
Yeah, you can just go to seventhDaySlumber.com. It's spelt out SEVENTH. seventhDaySlumber.com, and all of our information's up there. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, all that stuff, Twitter. It's really us that writes you back. So when you get a message, someone asked me that today. Is this really you guys writing us back? Yep, it's us. We love you. And you matter to us. So hit us up.
Awesome.
There you go. There you go. Thank you for your time tonight, man. And keep
such
putting
a
out the
pleasure
tunes.
speaking with you.
Yeah. Thank you guys so much.
Posted, and I'll hit you up about Maggie.
Yeah.
Let's do it, man.
All right. Cool.
All right.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks for your time, guys. Appreciate it.